I'm Noah Foster, and I'm going to be your next speaker whenever y'all are ready. Are all my dishes ready? Timepiece. In the year 1779, a new British general was placed in charge of the British Secret Intelligence. In this role, he continued negotiations with an American trader that had been in progress for over a year. The trader had recently been promoted to commander of the fort at West Point, and so the British had begun to take his offering seriously. All that remained were the final details, but the trader demanded a personal meeting with the British general. According to the Clements Library at the University of Michigan, on September 20th, the British general went on board the Vulture, a ship that would pick him up and take him to the meeting place. The trader then gave the general papers, which revealed the placement of troops and other compromising information about West Point. By morning, the meeting was over, but the Vulture had moved upriver, having been fired upon by the Americans. This stranded the general, and as a result of the Vulture's move, he was forced to go back to the British by land. Around 9 a.m. the next morning, he was stopped in neutral territory by some militiamen. These men, finding the papers on him, held him prisoner. Meanwhile, the trader fled for British safety. The trader escaped, but the general was hanged as a spy. Everyone believed the traitor should have been the one to die because of his treason. The Americans wanted a trade, but the British would not do it, knowing what would happen to the American traitor, Benedict Arnold. Now, I'm sure none of you have betrayed your country like Benedict Arnold did. However, we have all wanted to be a hero, and Benedict Arnold wanted the exact same thing. Benedict Arnold was an outstanding American general who tried to be a British hero, but his decision labeled him a traitor for all of history. In order to get a fuller understanding of Benedict Arnold's betrayal, we will first cover his years in the military, then move on to the causes of his betrayal, and lastly, look at the impact he had and the legacy he left behind. Benedict Arnold was an outstanding American general in the Revolutionary War, known for his bravery and intelligence. History.com states that Benedict Arnold began his career as captain in Connecticut's militia. His first commission was capturing Fort Ticonderoga, and he succeeded. With this victory under his belt, George Washington quickly promoted him to colonel in America's newly formed army. However, Benedict Arnold didn't decide to rest on his laurels. Instead, he made a name for himself in the two battles of Saratoga. The battles of Saratoga, fought 18 days apart in the fall of 1777, actually mark a turning point in the American Revolution. As Jean Fritz puts in her book, Traitor, the Case of Benedict Arnold, Benedict Arnold was a leader and he led. When he came upon deserters, he turned them around. When he met laggers, he shouted encouragement and they ran to catch up. In short order, the American forces had routed the enemy. In this battle and others, Benedict Arnold gained his reputation as a valiant leader. But even more importantly, these victories were the victories that finally convinced the French government to formally recognize the colonists' cause and enter the war as their ally. Benedict Arnold was at the height of his career. In fact, George Washington called him the bravest of the brave. But something soon made Washington change his assessment of Arnold to the veriest villain of centuries past. And it all started with Benedict Arnold's move to Philadelphia. According to William Randall's book, Benedict Arnold, Patriot and Traitor, Benedict Arnold fell in love with a girl named Peggy Shippen soon after his move to Philadelphia. Peggy, the daughter of a loyalist, was flattered by Benedict Arnold's attention, and on April 8, 1779, they were married. Peggy immediately began to influence Arnold and slowly tried to persuade him to betray his country. Benedict began to believe her as he grew restless with the lack of American victories. Presently, he gave up hope of America winning the war. However, it wasn't this fact alone that led him to correspond with the British. Instead, it was the lack of fame and recognition that he received from the American side. Benedict Arnold strove to advance further up the American ranks, but he was rebuffed again and again. Benedict Arnold began corresponding with the British. He corresponded with Major John Andre, using loyalist Joseph Sansbury as an intermediate. The first few letters began with a discussion of information Arnold might give the general, but soon became a plot for him to turn over a major fort on the Hudson River, the fort known as West Point. On August 8, 1779, Arnold obtained command of West Point. George Washington hoped that this promotion would pacify the colonel, but all it did was infuriate the traitor. On August 15th, Benedict Arnold accepted Britain's final offer. They would give him 20,000 pounds for command of West Point. Benedict began weakening the defenses, and he met with Major John Andre to finalize the deal on September 21st. Benedict Arnold gave the general papers. The letters were discovered, and Benedict Arnold's plot was exposed. Benedict Arnold was a traitor, and everybody knew it. If Benedict Arnold's plot had succeeded, the British would almost certainly have won the conflict. It would be known as a civil war, and we would all be drinking tea and living in the United Kingdom. But Benedict Arnold's plot failed, and not only did the American side retain possession of West Point, but his treachery actually reinvigorated the American people and helped our secession succeed. Benedict Arnold lived out the rest of his years in London. While he was there, many people congratulated him on his accomplishments, but he never received the fame and recognition he had hoped for, because everyone, even the British, knew he was a traitor. All of Benedict Arnold's accomplishments are now tainted by his betrayal. In fact, according to military.com, on the grounds of the United States Military Academy at West Point, there are plaques commemorating all of the officers who served in the Revolutionary War. One plaque, however, bears only a rank and date. This plaque is Benedict Arnold's. Another instance where his name is missing from history is the Victory Monuments at Saratoga. These monuments have 4 niches, 3 of which are occupied by the commanding officers who served in the battle. The 4th, Benedict Arnold's, is empty. Benedict Arnold is not a well-loved, well-respected, or even properly remembered person. But we can learn a valuable lesson from him. This lesson is the fact that a lifetime of good deeds and successes can be ruined by one bad decision. Let me die in this old uniform in which I have fought my battles, and may God forgive me forever having put on another. With these final words, Benedict Arnold passed away. His funeral had 4 mourning coaches and 7 state carriages, but his funeral was without military honors. Even at Benedict Arnold's funeral, his betrayal was remembered. One egregious decision ruined Benedict Arnold's reputation and eventually ruined his life. Every year, I see people learning this exact same lesson the hard way. Instead of ruining your reputation, your witness, and even your relationships, learn a lesson from history. Learn a lesson from Benedict Arnold. Thank you.